No, it's never been the same. Even when I'm with other veterans and strangers will come up and say thank you for their service, they always skip me. Even to thank other men who might be with us that weren't veterans, they'll get thanked even though I won't, and I'll be wearing my field jacket. I think it's gotten somewhat better, but I think the experience of most women veterans is it's more compartmentalized. Something as women, it's something we've done and we're proud of, but we move on and do other things.
I don't think that I get a lot of respect now. Whenever I mention that I was forward deployed or I talk about being wounded, they question if it's real or if I'm making it up. I get challenged a lot for my military service records if we start talking about recognition or accomplishments that I had when I was in the service. So, and I think that those are things that most men would not be questioned about if they were to mention the same stories. It also doesn't help that my disabilities are not seen. So I get a lot of questions about, are you really disabled? You know, and we shouldn't be putting labels or questioning someone just based off of what they look like.
Of course not. I mean, the moment anybody says veteran or hero, immediately we think of a man. Even me. Even I did not recognize myself as a veteran.
In most ways, sometimes it gets a little tricky.
Well, I'd like to say that it's been the same, but it is not.
In most cases, if they know one guy is, the guy is military, people will shake his hand and say, Happy Veterans Day, and then the person I'm with will go, well, she is too. But that's to be expected.
We don't get as much recognition, but this thing you put together is really sweet. It was really nice to come in and be recognized.
I think more so now than ever, and I think especially being in the nurse corps, that we don't require, it doesn't seem like we require that recognition. I mean, you know, I think that we are happy to serve, and that's part of being a nurse, is that you do what needs to be done, and you don't expect recognition. But I understand the question, and I definitely think that, you know, the women veterans need to be honored, and I think that it has lifted up that honoring in the last 5 years. I think there's a big difference.
By military members, yes, but as far as just maybe society in general, I think, you know, people still kind of forget, you know, hey, we exist.
Well, I am positive that the comments that I receive as a woman veteran are different than my male counterparts. I'm pretty sure that few, if no men, have to deal with comments like, wow, I never had anyone who looked like you in charge of me when I was in the military. I wish I had. So there's usually an undertone that has nothing to do with leadership, and you just have to try to maneuver the person back to your capability as a leader, your capability as an officer, and your dedication to ensure that your service members are cared for, and in my case, my soldiers.
I think it's been a little bit different, a little bit less in a lot of ways, but I'm very outspoken and not afraid to tell them that I am a retired senior chief.
So it's been different. So I got out in 2014, right before Veterans Day, and I went to the Veterans Parade, and no one, I had males on both sides of me. They skipped right over me. So I was like, okay, cool. Second year, the same thing. The third year, there was a speaker that came here and started talking about female veterans. And then the third, fourth, and fifth year, the little kids and stuff have actually been coming up to me, and I don't have to like wear this big old shirt that says veteran across it. They I'm just wearing my hat and they thank me. So it's just been different.
I think it's a little different. I currently, like I said, I work for the Department of Veterans Affairs, and I'm currently serving on a women veteran modernization interprofessional team. And 3 areas we're looking at are culture, access to care, and care coordination. And that culture is sometimes different in that if a female veteran walks in with a male, they automatically assume that the male is the veteran. I do think that's changing, and with education, and I think our male counterparts want that to change.
It's there, it's getting better, but definitely in the beginning, security forces right out the chute, and yeah, just wasn't the same.
Absolutely, absolutely. My husband gets recognized a lot more than I do. And I just sit back and just nod my head and just say, if you only knew.
Yeah, definitely. As mentioned, female veterans tend to be on the invisible front. They don't really get noticed as often as men do.
No, in fact, I actually made a decal for my van because the Marine Corps sticker on the van, people go, oh, thank you for your husband for your service. And I'm like, no, it's me. So I made a pink female veteran decal to put on there.
It's a natural human reaction to automatically think of men first. For so many years it was just men, and the women were, the Rosie Riveters of the world, and everybody was in the back. And we're slowly moving and making huge momentum and strides coming forward and really getting the recognition that we were due.
I think, again, it's different because nobody realizes we're veterans. Nobody thinks that we did anything that... I had a friend that said, oh, you had it easy, you were in the military. Yeah, I didn't see you in the field. And people don't realize we do the same things that men do. We go to the field, we fire weapons, we crawl under barbed wire, we get in the mud, we do all that.
Now that I'm out, like I said, I think that when people realize that I was in the military, they are happy and thankful and, treat me with respect just like they do my husband.
It's actually very different. I have been working with the monument, which there is no monument anywhere in this country, recognized 25% of the military, which is now women. 2.5 million women veterans who have honorably served this country since 1948. And I have worked with male veterans getting monuments and memorials for them, and there's never a problem raising money for the male veteran if we have a piece. When it comes to the female veteran, people just kind of turn the other way or put their money back in their pocket. And I think with that, what I've learned that comes from is because women, we don't appreciate ourselves either. And what I've learned is by nature, it's a woman's nature to put other people first. And I think that has flowed over into women veterans even more because we are a servant going into that. And so I think that is the biggest thing, is we're just as much at fault for where we are as for the way, because we have to learn that it's okay to put ourselves first.
It's not the same. I think that people tend to forget that females actually serve also.
No, ma'am. I definitely wouldn't say that I receive the same recognition as my male counterparts. And it's unfortunate sometimes, but when you don't do it for the recognition, it doesn't really matter.
Very different. Very, very different. I carry a flight suit bag, which is my flight suit and my husband's together, and I consistently hear, oh, is that your husband's flight suit? And I have to say it is, and mine as well. But yeah, for the majority, it's... And I'm a spouse, and I'm very proud of my husband, and that's something that's also a different dynamic, because I am very proud of him, but I do feel like a lot of times that I don't get the recognition at all for what I've contributed.
My husband is also in the military, so whenever we go out, people always thank him for his service and never even look in my direction, even if I show them my veteran license. But he's really good about also bringing me up to saying she also served.
I see a lot of female colleagues or past veterans who actually are recognized either for their work, the work that they've done when they were on active duty, and some are still on active duty, and so they're still recognized. I don't know that I'm the one that's been, but they are certainly, my colleagues certainly have been recognized for their work as veterans.
Oh, definitely different. My husband was in the military as well. He was a pilot. And so whenever people meet us, they're like, oh, were you in the military? And he says, yes. He's like, oh, my wife was in the military. And they're like, oh, okay. It's a shock. And then they go on and proceed to discuss his career in the military.
It's different. My husband serves as well. And he's always recognized, whereas I'm not. So I still think that there's that population that forgets that women serve.
I think we don't. Females are kind of left out, and so this is special.
A little different, because you see a lot of images that doesn't look like you when it comes on the television. I think they're trying to make up for it, but yeah, there's a disparity.
I think that's different because they always expect it to be the man first. So, and I always tease my husband because he has like dependent ID as well. So.
No, I think it's the same. Yeah, people don't realize I'm a retired military person until I tell them that, and then once I do, they're very interested in hearing my stories.
So it's something I don't see anything different from whenever my husband says that he's a veteran than whenever I say it. Usually it's short and simple, but it's like whenever you're in the military and somebody says, "Oh, thank you for your service," you just say thanks because it was the best time of my life.
Definitely. Yes, ma'am. You notice that the most on Veterans Day when you go out and they assume that the person sitting across the table from you is the veteran, which in most cases could be very true, but then my son gets to say, actually, my mommy's the veteran, so that makes me feel better. It warms my heart that he, recognizes that.
I just think that people assume that men are veterans and that women are not. I think that's changing though, as more and more women are in the military.
I know when I'm with my husband, they automatically assume that he's the veteran and that I'm not. Whenever I'm just around other veterans, they just accept you as one of them, the males and the females. There's no competition or anything like that. Whereas when you're serving, there is a little bit more of a competition, I felt. But when you're not, when you're among other veterans, it's all a big party.
It's been different for the most part. My husband serves too. And so whenever people realize that we're a military family, they automatically ask, "Oh, when did your husband serve and what branch is he in?" And I tell them, but at the same time, I'm like, "He served too."
Once people realize I'm a veteran, yes, to a certain extent. But even then, for example, again, when me and my husband are talking to people, they'll automatically congratulate him. And then my husband will speak up and be like, "No, my wife served too." And they're like, "Oh, that's good. But thanks for your service too." And then they turn back to him. It's like, okay, so at least I acknowledged it.
I believe people are a lot more curious when they find out that I'm a female veteran versus when I hear, a male veteran, state that they're a veteran. It's just like, "Oh, thank you for your service." And when I say something, they're like, "Oh my goodness, tell me more." So I think there's a lot more curiosity.
Not the same. Not the same. I'll leave it at that.
Totally different. It's easy to see him because he's always been there. We are a country built on the back of our men going to war. But people forget that women have been going to war before we were these United States. We've always been there, and we're going to continue to be there.
Absolutely, because my husband is a 24-year veteran, and most of the time people will say thank you for your service to him, and they will totally ignore me.
Oh, definitely. Like I mentioned, most people assume that is men because throughout history it has been only men, and just a couple of decades we've actually allowed females in and then allowed them into other roles and currently in combat roles. So we're moving up and people are noticing us more, but we still have miles to go before we sleep.
Unfortunately, I think I have to say it's a little bit different because I do think that women are still seen differently than men, even though in the military we do work on an equal platform. It doesn't always pan out in the civilian community as the same.
No, because it's been times where I've had on my Navy veteran hat and something, and they'd be like, "Oh, is that your husband hat or did you serve?" And I'm like, "No, I served." I don't feel like I should have to explain, why I have this hat on or why I had this shirt on or any of that stuff, because I serve too. I feel like we don't get recognized enough.
No, I don't think I received the same recognition, and even now, things are supposed to be equal, I still notice that the men get more recognition for what they do than the females do.
I think if you were to talk to the masses, it would be different, but in myself, I feel pretty darn equal. I feel like when I'm with anyone who's a veteran that I'm not looked at any differently, unless my quirky self, of course, makes people possibly look at me different, but I don't think that it has anything to do with it being a veteran.
Oh, completely different. Completely different. They don't see you. They really don't see you. And even sometimes you might have a hat on or whatever, and they really just don't look at you.
I think the gentlemen, because of the shorter haircuts, tend to be noticed a little bit more frequently than we do. But as soon as that we are acknowledged as a veteran as well, I think that we get the utmost care and consideration.
About the same. I don't really have much to compare that to, so I think we're equally respected.
I think so. Mostly because they are so appreciative of the military. I just think I don't let people know that often, but definitely when I let people know, I don't feel like, I think they're surprised because I don't know that I carry myself in the way that I was in the service, but I don't feel any different, treated any differently than the.
My first thought is my license plate has that I'm a veteran, and the first thing that most people do is ask me politely to thank my husband for his service. Not that that's a terribly bad thing, but that's the first common. We're just not as prominent.
I guess I see myself as a member of the family.
Very independent, that I have accomplished a lot that I'm very proud of, but I didn't do it all by myself. There were a lot of people along the way that helped me out, but I'm proud of where I am today.
Strong as a person, very independent.
I wouldn't be this person. You know, I needed that attitude adjustment, so to speak.
To work in an environment with mostly men at the time and succeed, I think I feel very well-rounded and blessed.
Able to accomplish any goal I set for me, believe in myself, but also take it easy and not do anything too crazy.
Blessed and grateful.
You know, my oath of enlistment has no expiration date.
As a powerful woman.
Strong.
As a role model or advisor.
A woman with experience.
Badass warrior mom.
Very blessed. I'm capable of doing anything that is asked of me.
Experienced and wise enough to know that there's a lot I don't know.
A person that I try to take myself not so seriously.
I see myself as a pretty strong person. I will admit I carry a lot of grief from things, but it made me stronger.
Very independent, very strong, independent woman.
A veteran, someone that is still serving the community, somebody that still wants to give to people around me and to veterans. And I'm very proud to still be a part of that community.
A woman in business. I'd like to continue to form my career in the corporate ladder. And I'm also a wife and a mom, and it's great.
A role model for those younger people that's in the military that I've run into. I try to be a mentor to them, to let them know that, you know, things weren't always this bad, and, you know, there's rules and we all have to follow them. But yet and still go for everything you want. Let's go for it.
Well, I'm a grandma. I mean, you know, that's really my role. I'm fully retired. I do things at my own pace.
Young, as a grandmother, a wife, I'm a mother of an active duty young man.
As someone who still serves, not in the military, but very active in my church and active in my community, and there's so many needs out there, and I'm glad that I'm still able to serve.
Physician, I see myself as a mom, and I definitely see myself as a Navy veteran, and a Marine Corps spouse, because my husband's a combat Marine. I think I see myself in a lot of different lights, and which day I see myself in one more of, it just depends on which day of the week it is.
I am a work in progress.
As a daughter, a sister, I was a wife of a combat veteran, a mother, and now wear another role, because I never thought that I would be a Gold Star wife, or banner that I would never want to wear. It's all good, because out of all of that, God has put in me leadership to hopefully let people see themselves.
Very strong. Totally not the person I was when I first came into the military. It's definitely made me more confident, more secure in who I am.
I kind of set goals and then I achieve them and then I set new ones and start again.
I'm a mother, a wife, a sister, a friend.
I see myself as very strong and helpful to the community. I love helping other veterans and people learn about veterans who especially are going through PTSD or homelessness or have some sort of mental disability. I am always in a leadership role, so I feel like that definitely, pushed me forward for that. Yeah.
I see myself as an advocate for all young women, not just young military women or young women veterans, but all young women. I see myself as an advocate for all children in the community. And I think that advocating for all children and all women is a message that just circles back to the conversation of being inclusive and not putting a label on someone based off of what they look like or where they've been.
Very strong-willed woman in this world, able to care for myself.
I see myself as a strong woman.
Very strong-willed, independent woman, and I equate that to my military training. Very determined, very service-oriented.
Somebody that has some great stories to tell her grandchildren. I love being a Nana. It's the best.
Today, well, I still serve, so I'm a DoD civilian, and I still deploy. So I still have that, appreciation for family. But I'm proud of what I did, proud of what I do. Sometimes I wish I was still in, but at least I can still give to my country through my current career. And in having this program, my intent, of course, is to share them with people like me, veterans that, or people in general that just can't get out of bed or can't walk, can't do things for themselves, and kind of bring them a moment of joy and peace.
A very positive and mature mom, wife, sister, friend.
I try to be as positive as possible, strong woman, strong mom. I think a good role model for my girls and also for my son.
A teacher. I think that's my natural tendencies to help others to grow and learn, being a leader and taking care of others.
I had to remind myself that I did a lot of stuff. Sometimes I feel like I didn't do a lot, but I actually did a lot. I was told the other day, you did something that less than 1% of Americans have done in their life.
Highly organized, motivated, coordinator of a lot of things, pretty independent, and healthy, fit, happy.
I love Miss Betty because people don't realize that you have to honor the women that came before you. If it wasn't for the women like Miss Betty, those of us who came later would have had a harder time. They're the pioneers that set the pace for not only the women in the Navy, but across the branches of service. And so we owe them a debt of gratitude for everything, for setting the standards. Every chance we get, we should say thank you. So thank you, Miss Betty. Thank you. And I love you. I love you.